You mean the Rue 21? The American Eagle's still open. Alright. Alright, time to be as careful as possible in here. I'm not even gonna wear the wrist strap. Alright. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. It was inevitable I had to hit this mall. This mall was really on the top of my radar for a very long time. This was a mall that I was destined to hit for a very long time. However, I never was really willing to make the far drive that I had to make it to this mall, but it was always on my mind. I always loved the way the architecture looked, and seeing it in videos just really made me want to visit. After hearing from friends how bad this place was doing, I finally gave out and just took the 4.5-hour drive to check this place out. I knew I had to. Welcome to the Lycoming Mall in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. This mall, honestly, was probably the saddest mall I ever visited. I'll get to that later in the video. But this mall was once the crown jewel of the Williamsport area. However, thanks to Kohan, this mall would just fall flat on its face. Lycoming Mall, as of this recording, is now permanently closed. So let's take one last walk through the Lycoming Mall. As far as history goes, plans for the Lycoming Mall would start popping up in 1975. Crown American was looking for land to build a mall in the Williamsport region, and they would decide right off of I-180 in Muncy Township would be perfect for Lycoming Mall to sit. Plans would come in for a 674,000 square foot mall with 3 anchors to appear in the plot of land. Lycoming Mall would open on July 15th, 1978, with Hess's opening a little earlier on March 1st. The mall would open to great fanfare with Hess's, as already mentioned, as well as Sears and GB as the original anchors. Lycoming Mall would start off so well that plans would already be getting started for an expansion to happen in the 80s. 1985 would see a expansion happen where Bonton would be added to the mall as well, and JCPenney would move from downtown Williamsport into Lycoming Mall in the late 1980s. Lycoming Mall would receive a renovation in 1990. However, this would be to primarily remove a conversation pit and fountains in the center court. The rest of the changes were fairly minor. In the early 1990s, an unmentioned Woolworths department store at Lycoming Mall would close its doors for good due to company bankruptcy. Also around the same time, Hess's would be bought out by Bonton. However, since Bonton already had a presence at Lycoming Mall, they did not want to operate a two-anchor setup. In return, the space would end up being sold over to Kaufmann's, and Kaufmann's would end up opening a location at Lycoming Mall in the mid-1990s. The early 2000s would see ownership going from Crown American to Pennsylvania Real Estate Investment Trust, or PREIT, as Crown American would be bought out by PREIT. The mall would see some great success around this time in the early 2000s. The mid-2000s would see a lot of changes. The first change would happen with Kaufmann's being converted to Macy's in 2006 during the May and Federated Department Stores buyout. Also in 2006, Borders Books and Music, Old Navy, and Dick's Sporting Goods would all open up at Lycoming Mall. 2008, however, would see Value City close. Value City would be ending up replacing GB, and with the departure of Value City, Burlington Coat Factory would end up going in its place. The 2010s would see a lot of changes as well, as in November 2011, Borders would end up being replaced with Books A Million. Even then, the Gap and Radio Shack would close in 2015, and Gap would open a new factory store at the Lycoming Crossing Shopping Center across the street. With this, PREIT did not see good performance with Lycoming Mall, and they would end up selling it. 2016, we would start seeing Lycoming Mall's fate hit right at the start. Kohan Retail Investment Group would end up buying Lycoming Mall for $26.35 million. This would be where the troubles of Lycoming Mall would begin. Get ready for one of the worst cases of anchoritis. In January of 2017, Macy's would announce their location at Lycoming Mall would be closing along with others across the nation, and the store would close in March. Shortly after that, JCPenney would announce their closure at Lycoming Mall along with others across the nation, and their store would close on July 31st. We cut over to 2018, and in January, Sears would announce their closure at Lycoming Mall. The store would close shortly after, and following this, Bon-Ton would file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy and close all locations. This is it. Lycoming Mall was down 4 anchors within the span of 2 years. They were just left at this time with Burlington Coat Factory, Dick's Sporting Goods, and Books A Million and Old Navy. Shortly after this, Old Navy would even close. From this point, Kohan would start declining bills and leaving bills unpaid, including electrical and water. Lycoming Mall even lost power for a day as the electrical bill wasn't paid. Kohan would end up putting a partial payment in. However, they would not pay fully for a good while. As Kohan started declining bills, this mall would just see tenants fleeing fast. Even then, in late 2021, Dick's Sporting Goods would end up deciding they would want to move across the street to Lycoming Crossing Shopping Center and would abandon their Lycoming Mall location. This was it. Lycoming Mall was at very poor occupancy. At this point, the city did not want to keep the mall open. They would start trying to plan out for redevelopment. This would lead to my visit in October. When I visited, only Burlington and Books A Million would be here in terms of anchor stores, and I put that in quotes. And when I walked through the mall, I counted 7 open stores, excluding those 2. This mall was in such sad shape when I visited. This would lead to February 2023. Lycoming Mall could not stay open in the condition it was in. They would end up asking all tenants to vacate the premises as redevelopment would occur. Lycoming Mall would officially close its doors for good on February 24th, 2023. This was it, the end of Lycoming Mall. As I walked through the halls of Lycoming Mall, a wave just hit me. Seeing how empty this place was, with barely any people, and just seeing the remaining shops fairly close together, all open, and just the rest of these wings dead, it made me sad. It just felt sad walking through here. As I was walking through here, a nostalgia wave hit me as well. I just kind of realized that Chapel Hill Mall in Akron, Ohio, kind of felt the same fate that this mall did, ultimately with Kohan killing the place. And it's sad because this mall is such a beautiful mall and very well preserved. Even though it got some touch-ups in the 90s, this mall is still very well preserved to its 70s decor. A lot of the ceilings and most of the architecture still retained from the 70s. This was such a beautiful and clean mall. They still kept it clean all the way to the end. Even then, this place just failed. It was really sad just walking through this place and just seeing the fate that this place was going through. I loved this mall a ton. This was one of my favorite malls that I visited aesthetic-wise. But it was just sad. Going through here, this will be one of my most memorable mall visits I took. And even with the painful drive I took on the way home, I don't regret stopping here. I'm so grateful I got to visit Lycoming Mall. This mall will forever be remembered within my malls that I have visited. May it rest in peace. With this, I would like to thank you guys for watching my video tour of the Lycoming Mall in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Knowing that this would be my only visit to this mall honestly was sad, but at the same time, I am very grateful I got to visit it and preserve it for all of you guys. If you have any memories of Lycoming Mall, from the inside to working here to family memories to even just driving under the Hidani Arch, which we will see at the end of the video, please leave a comment down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like as it greatly helps support the channel, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe down below for more content just like this. I have a lot more malls coming soon to the channel. With that, I hope you all take care, stay awesome, and have a blessed day.